Another way we control our assembly process is that we have picture-based instruction assembly sheets. It's a two-sided sheet for a single product, in this case the OWB floodlight. It lists at each step all the critical hardware we need, and that's located in these bins behind me. And so whenever we go to do a step, we pull off the wall only the bins we need for that particular step, no extra things, so we're not having to go back and make sure we pull from the correct bin. And our bins are color-coded, so things that are easily mistaken for each other have different color bins so that you can quickly, at a glance, tell which version you've got and not mix your parts up. And so when we go to do assembly, we do, rather than doing all the steps in a row and going from unassembled parts to fully completed holster, we'll usually have one assembly step over here, one assembly step here, a third one here, and then finished parts come onto this table for a final inspection. And that allows us to have more than one person handling the parts, and it also means that each person has a limited amount of hardware in front of them, usually no more than 3 or 4 individual pieces of hardware to assemble in their particular step. So that means it's much less taxing to keep track of what goes where, and it's much easier to inspect and make sure that step was done correctly. So every person, when they pass the bin down to the next person in line, they've done one thing. So it's our mini Henry Ford assembly line. It moves pretty quickly and we can keep parts flowing through the process, but we don't want any one person having to handle 3 different steps all at the same time, because that's a recipe for forgetting, getting distracted, or just not being able to keep in your head at once all the different parts you need to do. So we do shots from close up of each step in the order the parts go together. So here's the part with its actual pieces. Here's the first step of the assembly, step 3, step 4, so we can see exactly how it goes together, and you can compare the finished thing to what you've actually done in your hand and go, is this right? And we can also make notes, like in this case, mount Tek-Lok inverted. We mount on the OWB floodlight, we mount Tek-Loks with the hinge at the bottom. Makes them a lot easier to take on and off, and they're just as secure. It's a very common thing in competition holsters and gamer gear. Guys will invert their Tek-Loks, so that's become standard out of the box on this floodlight. So rather than revising the whole sheet and having to reprint it and relaminate it, just grab a red Sharpie. I used red so that it would be an obvious change, not just another black note in the margin. So red Sharpie, mount the Tek-Lok inverted, and then this build sheet stays good. And if we pile up a couple of edits on it that need to be included, at that point I would go back and reprint and relaminate it. But we can keep track of any changes on the fly, and our build sheet stays current that way.